Shut up, Smarks. Ring Ross Redux. No, I won't tap out. I won't tap out. All of you bastards suck. Just stop watching Raw. Stop watching Raw. Now part of the Club Kayfabe creative community. I think we'll throw that out to Trevor Lee as well, the Carolina Caveman, for winning his the six-man match for to defend his X Division Championship. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jobronology TV. The next match for Bound for Glory on the pay-per-view saw an unannounced match. Taiji Ishimori defeating Tyson Dukes, who apparently was returning to Impact Wrestling as being part of Team Canada. I don't remember him being part of the Scott D'Amore, Bobby Roode, Eric Young Team Canada, unless they mean for the X Cup. So, anyway, what do I know though? Unless he was A1. The Club Kayfabe creative community, bringing together creative people from all walks of life and giving them a platform to show off their talents. Podcasters, artists, cosplayers, authors. Check out all the information about Club Kayfabe creative community at ckcconline.com. Next up for Bound for Glory on pay-per-view from the Aberdeen Pavilion in Ottawa, Ontario, as I also will be pre-previewing, as well as paper-reviewing Bound for Glory. I'll be pre-previewing NXT TakeOver Wargames, which will be next Saturday, but rather than, do the preview the day before, I'll give you a whole week to process it and digest it and whatnot. And if anything changes, I'll certainly update it next week. But for the time being, I'll just do an early pre-preview of it because I'll be the first one doing it. And important. So, next up, we have the Monsters Ball match, which saw Abyss taking on Grado. And if Grado lost, his work visa would be terminated, and he must leave the United States. So, Abyss beat Grado. Even though usually when it's a career match, it's usually the person whose career is on the line that wins, but I did predict it that way, that, Grado would win, because usually, like I said, that's how it goes. But it was quite the smacktastic match, quite brutal. The thumbtacks came out somewhat early in the match, so wasn't disappointed. You were listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jobronology TV. And next up we have Team Impact, which is, you know me, I like naming tag teams, so I named people within the team, the six-man team, as a two-man tag team. So, Team Impact was EC3 and Red Dog, Eddie Edwards and James Storm, because Red Dog, I'm pretty sure, was a beer, I think, in the 90s. I think, anyway. Dog, Eddie Edwards, Wolf, James Storm, beer. Versus Team AAA, which was El Hijo de Fantasma, versus Tag Teamo, which was Pagano and Tejano, because, like I said last week, it's like Pagan and Texan with an O at the end. So it's Tag Team with an O at the end, making it Spanish, Radio Shrug. So I did predict that the Heroes would win that one, and that's what happened. Yeah, it wasn't a spectacular show, but it was an enjoyable show. For all the complaining that people were doing about it, but then again, people tend to complain about Impact Wrestling anyway. So, and now they have one more thing apparently to complain about, because apparently Impact is now going to be a, not Canada exclusive, but it's going to be based out of Canada. So it's going to be based out of Toronto instead of Nashville, like it was before. So they'll get the stigma of Dixie Carter and Jeff Jarrett off it, I guess, and then they'll have the stigma of Scott D'Amore and Santino Marella on it. I don't know. Not that they aren't good folks who are doing good work training people to be wrestlers, but, anyway. We'll see how it works out. I hope it does, in fact, work out, because it would be nice if Canada had an international power for a wrestling promotion. Stampede isn't quite the same as it used to be. It's not actually, I don't even think it's the same Stampede. It's run by Hearts, but not quite, not the right Hearts, I guess, whatever way of putting it. So, I don't know, maybe it's changed since I last heard, but that's the last I heard was it's not being run by the Hart family. It's being run by one member of the Hart family who isn't doing a very good job of it. But anyway, that's just what I heard. So, in regards to Team AAA...
Sorry about your damn luck.
You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Now part of the Club Kayfabe creative community. So next up for Bound for Glory, live on pay-per-view from this past Sunday night. Ohio versus Everything. Dave and Jake Christ defended their Impact World Tag Team Championships against the Latin American Exchange, Ortiz and Santana. And they had a little bit of help from newcomer to Impact, Sammy Callahan. Didn't realize he was from Ohio, but, I could look it up, I suppose, just to confirm. But, I'll take it as a given that he's from Ohio, and that was correct. And, how did I call that one? I think usually when I am calling a title match, I'll call in favor of the champion to defend. So that's what I said. I said everyone to defend. You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. And a match that didn't end up happening because one of the competitors couldn't make it to... I don't really know what the story behind it was. Taya Valkyrie wasn't able to make it to Ottawa for Bound for Glory, so her Red Wedding match with Rosemary didn't end up happening, so we'll see what transpires with that. They said she'll be back in the new year, so I guess that's when, I don't know. Hopefully it's not a serious issue or anything, but one knockouts match that did happen was the three-way knockouts championship match, which saw Sienna defending her title against Ali and Gail Kim. Gail, the TNA Hall of Famer, or I guess Impact Hall of Famer now. Did they change the logo? I haven't noticed. I haven't seen the logo in a while. So, the Impact Wrestling Hall of Famer said she wanted to win the Knockouts Championship one more time before she retired at the end of this year. And, of course, that meant... Well, of course, I thought the same for the Grado Abyss match, but usually, in that circumstance, the person retiring, will end up winning. And even just a short reign, a couple of months, and then she'll either relinquish it or lose it legitimately to someone or whatever. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Just seems sometimes she's just unstoppable. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Now part of the Club Kayfabe creative community. So we got two matches left for Bound for Glory this past Sunday, which got apparently bad reviews from at least 75% of people who didn't pay for it. So, I'm just saying, one might think, if there's such a thing as karma, you got what you paid for. All the people who decided they weren't going to pay for it because it's going to be a crappy show, guess what? You thought it was a crappy show. So why'd you watch it? You already convinced yourself it was going to be a crappy show. Why would you bother watching something you already convinced yourself was going to be a crappy show? If you can't justify having to pay for it, you can't justify having to watch it. That's long been my opinion on that regard. But, I don't have so much a problem with people watching illegal streams as people watching illegal streams by themselves. Locked away in their room, in their bedroom or their office or whatever, and just being otherwise antisocial. And heaven forbid you have children. What are you teaching your children? By saying it's okay to not pay for something because LOL. Because your children are paying attention to you. They're noticing what you're doing. You think they aren't, but they are. A lot of times, more than you'd like to think, they're noticing what you're doing. So, I don't know why you would bother watching something you don't enjoy. That's a long-standing mantra of mine as well. I don't know why you would watch something you don't enjoy. So it doesn't matter if you run a wrestling website and you quote-unquote have to watch it. No, you didn't. You could have said, no, we're choosing not to watch it because I personally am not a fan of it. And there's no one from our website who wanted to watch it because they're also not fans of it. So you buck up and you say, okay, well, someone's got to take a hit for the team, or you just say, no, we're not reviewing it. Or put up a review from some other website, because that's what you do anyway. You put your news up from someone else's website. So, anyway, there's very few of you who put out news that's new, exclusive to your website. You're just putting out other people's news, but pretend I'm Kermit sipping some tea, and that's not my business. So, the last two matches from Bound for Glory, Bobby Lashley and King Mo took an, what did I call them? Well, I didn't really put much imagination into that, I don't think. I basically just called them Team MMA, Bobby Lashley and King Mo, and then called the other guys Team Wrestling, Moose and Stevan Bonnar. So, and even though it was in 6 sides of steel, where theoretically someone shouldn't have been able to get in, and the numbers game shouldn't have had an effect on it, numbers game had an effect on it. So, Team MMA still came out on top of that one, which still, you would think, in a wrestling promotion where you're defending the honor of wrestling against MMA, even though they did skate that line nicely. The MMA guys weren't actively disrespectful of wrestling being, as someone would call it, fake. They said wrestlers don't know what to do in a real fight, so that's what MMA is, a real fight. So, I don't know, they skated the line, I think, rather nicely. They came a little bit close sometimes, but, I liked the angle, if not the overall outcome, but, I wasn't really disappointed. It wasn't a match I was really all that super hyped for anyway, so the ending of it didn't really bother me one way or the other. But I did call it the other way around, so, oh well. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. And in the main event, Eli Drake defended his Impact Global Championship against Johnny Impact. I'm wondering now what they're going to do now that Impact Wrestling and Global Force Wrestling are no longer directly associated. If they're going to change the belts back again, or redesign, I guess I should say, the belts again. Like I said I said last week, I think, was it? They must have one of those frequent shopper cards for getting belts made. If they get one more, if the next set of belts they get done for free because they've had so many already. So, I thought it was funny. Anyway, and no, I don't see a problem with that. Well, yes, I guess I do see a problem with that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching. If that's what the implication of "don't you see a problem with that" is. I mean, I don't see the point of someone saying "don't you see there's a problem with that" if they're also still watching. If you're still watching, great. You need, in my opinion, you would be better off finding a reason to like it, finding a reason to watch, finding something to like is basically what I suggest you do. If you're going to force yourself to watch it, I would suggest you find a reason to watch it. You find something to like, or else don't bother watching it, because it just doesn't make any sense. But what do I know? You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Now part of Club Kayfabe Creative Community. So let's jump right into the NXT TakeOver Wargames pre-preview, which I know isn't going to be until next weekend, but it's going to be next Saturday, so I'd rather not do the preview on Friday and give people one day to listen to the podcast. And, I still prefer to give a bit of a advanced preview of, the show. So, So War Games, previously known as TakeOver Houston, will be taking place from the Toyota Center in, wait for it, Houston, Texas, and takes place on the WWE Network. So in the pre-show, they have Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, defending his United Kingdom Championship against Johnny Gargano. He's not British. No, he's an American wrestler from Cleveland, Ohio. So that's almost as bad as Shawn Michaels defeating British Bulldog David Boy Smith for the European title in Europe. At least this one isn't in Europe, it's in Texas, so still not as, I don't know. I can't imagine Johnny Gargano winning the United Kingdom Championship. Nothing against Johnny Gargano, it's just the United Kingdom Championship. Wouldn't be quite as funny as, I guess, Lance Storm winning the U.S. title and then putting a Canadian sticker over top of it, but oh well. So, I'm just going to call in favor of the Bruiserweight. That time of year again. Time to get in your votes for the Ring Rust Year-End Top 50 Countdown, where I run down my favorite and your favorite wrestling-related songs and wrestling entrance themes from 50 all the way to number 1. Just like CHMR's Ring Rust on Facebook, and post your vote in the appropriate thread. Check it out on the last Friday of this year and the first Friday of next year. Macho fact. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get away from Randy Savage. And the Macho Man is secretly the president of the Ninja Army. Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/RingRust. Follow me on Twitter @MarchieBrony. And subscribe to Jarbronology TV, youtube.com/fanboymarkjabroni. Now part of the Club Kayfabe creative community. So, next up for NXT TakeOver War Games / Houston, whatever you want to call it. I mean, War Games is the main event, but I'm not up to that yet. I'm not going to take them in the order they're here on the Wikipedia page. Just going to mix them up a little bit. So, the next match I'll be talking about will be Kassius Ohno versus Lara Sullivan, which was announced officially on this week's NXT, and will hopefully be further fleshed out for next week's NXT. If not, then I guess it'll just be one of those let's throw fists at each other and see what happens sorts of matches. They're always fun, though. Oh, yeah, you can punch me, huh? Well, I can punch you, too. And 5 or 6 minutes later, they're still punching each other, slowing down a bit, of course, but, well, still, it'll be something to see. Lara Sullivan has been destroying his tag team partners in recent months, and be nice to see what Kassius Ohno, a guy who's approximately his own size, can do in retaliation. So, fingers crossed, Kassius Ohno will come on the top of this one. So Lara Sullivan can, I don't know, move on to something else, keep going, move back to tag team action. Kassius Ohno gets a tag team partner. Hideo Itami, probably not, but oh well.
Because men talk wills it so. Proceed. You there. What's your story?
I'm Ernie Devlin, and I don't question it.
Oh, I like that. Don't budge. I'm taking your mind. Mind encryption, perhaps? Zombie guards, seize him! Tell me that's not fun to say.
Hey, what's up? This is referee Tony S, and you're listening to Ring Rust on CHMR.
Now part of Club Kayfabe Creative Community. So next up from NXT TakeOver Wargames / Houston, whatever you want to call it, will be, in my opinion anyway, not in any particular order, but just going to talk about the Fatal 4-Way match for the women's title, recently vacated by Asuka. So we'll see Ember Moon take it on Kairi Sane and Nikki Cross and Peyton Royce for the vacant title. And as much as I'd like to say that somehow Asuka's going to win the title back again, even though she's not in the match, I think recently there was an article posted actually about Peyton Royce talking about her championship dreams, and I think that might be a clue as to who's going to come on top of this one. Because I can see those two pretending like they're both somehow the NXT Women's Champions, like Cole back in the day. So that's my prediction, I think. I think Peyton Royce is going to win this one, and it's going to be through sneaky shenanigans and whatnot, while the other three are fighting each other. One of them gets knocked out, and she scrolls in and gets the pinfall. You're listening to Ring Rust REDUX on Jabronology TV. Now part of the Club Kayfabe Creative Community. We have Alistair Black taking on Velveteen Dream in a I'm going to punch Velveteen Dream really, really hard and not ever say his name. Oops, did I just say his name match? Because apparently that's what Velveteen Dream wants Alistair Black to do, is say his name. So I have no doubt that Alistair Black's going to win this match, but Velveteen Dream's probably going to earn his respect. That's probably usually how these kind of things go. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Next up, the world title match, Drew McIntyre defending against Andrade Cien Almas, one of the only guys in WWE who has managed to keep a 3-word name. Andrade Cien Almas, mouthful that he is, giggle, he managed to keep his name. So, he is challenging for the first time though. So I do anticipate, as I usually do, that the champion will defend. So, for the time being anyway, if there's a feud, then 2 or 3 matches, 2 or 3 title defenses later, maybe, yes, but not just right now. Although, WWE has surprised me in the past. And present, really. Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @MarkJabroni. And subscribe to Jabronology TV, youtube.com/fanboymarkjabroni. Speaking of which, War Games, the main event. So we got 3 teams of 3. So we have Strange Bedfellows, Roderick Strong and the Authors of Pain, Akam and Razar, plus versus Sanity, which is Eric Young, and the team I'd like to call Mad Dogs and Englishmen, Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane, versus Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, baby, and Red Dragon, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly from Ring of Honor. They're all from Ring of Honor. So I could have called them Ring of Honor, I guess, but they've already got a name, Undisputed Era. So, yeah, I kind of think Undisputed Era is probably going to come out on top of this one. I think it seems reasonable that they would. So that's my prediction. And they're going to probably do it in a really smarmy way, like all good heels do. So we'll see how it plays out. That's it for another show, kiddies. Check me out on Facebook, where you can keep track of all the news that's right on the mark, from around ringside to the latest concerts. See you at the shows. Later days.
This is 93.5 CHMR FM.